So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, August 18th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, August 18th here today. Coming off of another day in baseball yesterday. Two huge Yankee wins as the Yankees get the job done in not just game one, but they get the job done in game two as well. 5-3 in game one, 2-0 in game two, and man, the Yankees are on a roll right now. And so, taking two games from the doubleheader, against a team that we've struggled against all year long, the Yankees. And as much as I don't like Alex Cora, and I love when we beat the Red Sox, and I like it even more now that we beat Alex Cora, but he nailed it on the head in his interview. The Yankees are a different team than when we played the Red Sox earlier in the season. And he said that last night in his post-game press conference, and I didn't watch it. I saw the quote. Believe me, I'm not going to sit there and watch Alex Cora's press conference. Not just saying I won't, but I'll watch Boone and the Yankees stuff, but it is really, really crazy how much this Yankees team has changed since the All-Star break. I mean, going into the All-Star break, you had that bad loss against the Astros that leaves a bad taste in your mouth going into the All-Star break. It was kind of a little bit of a long break considering you end on that note and all that stuff. Then you come right out of the break, and I believe you got Boston, right out of the break and stuff like that. And it's like you have some of the COVID stuff, and things were really looking down for the New York Yankees, and the Yankees started to get on a roll. And really ever since we made the acquisitions of Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo, have we now been able to win games and win these big games. And I don't think many Yankee fans realize how big yesterday's wins were. I mean, they were insane. I mean, they really were. They're talking about wins that really could change the trajectory of this season, and we got those two wins yesterday. So, two huge wins for the Yankees. Luis Gil, for a guy that started the season in Double-A, was one of the Yankees' top pitching prospects, so it's not like this guy just came out of the middle of nowhere. We all knew about him. He started the season in Double-A with the Somerset Patriots, then went up to Triple-A with the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, and then now he's with the Yankees. And for a guy that we all know has a lot of potential, his numbers in AAA are good, but nothing special. And he's now coming up, and he is not allowed to run in each of his three starts. I mean, this is a guy who is just dominating. And you just gotta love what he brings to the table in terms of his stuff, his fastball, his just overall his weapons that he has in his back pocket with all the pitches he can throw. It really is crazy. And the Yankees, for a guy that at the beginning of the season is starting in Double-A, not that that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying, just put this in perspective. Double-A in the beginning of the season with the Somerset Patriots as one of the Yankees' top prospects is now pitching in arguably some of the biggest games of the season, including last night's game against the Boston Red Sox, and he's doing it in a major fashion with some big outings. And last night he did it again. So Heel, Yankees, Voit had a big game. Everyone's getting involved. Yankees are playing great baseball. I'm super excited because this is the best time of the year, and it's especially the best time of the year when your team's doing good. And on the other side of New York with the New York Mets, they continue to slide as they lose their fifth straight game to the San Francisco Giants last night, 3-2. And I was looking at this stat this morning. It's crazy. They're like 7 of 41 or something. I can look at it again here just to get it up, and then we'll get into the regular podcast here. But they're like 4 of 71. Let me try to get the stats up here. They're 4 of 41 rather with runners in scoring position. And you could make the argument, all three of those games were winnable with the Mets, but 4 of 41 with runners in scoring position. So we all know as Yankee fans, runners in scoring position has been tough to score. I mean, when you have runner like Yankees many times this season, second and third, one out, you don't get the running. Bases loaded, one out, you ground into a double play. First and second, no outs, you ground into a double play, then it's like a fly out or a pop out or a strikeout, something like that. We all know that. Now, Mets, on the other hand, it's been the same way. But, with being a Yankee fan and not being as much attention to the Mets too. 4 of 41 with runners scoring position. And it really is crazy. I mean, they're not scoring with runs on. So, yeah, it might seem like a closed game, but there's so many things that are happening. Like, you get first and second, nobody out, and they're not scoring a run. And second and third, nobody out, they're not scoring a run. There was a game against the Marlins, which really started this rough patch. I was watching the game. It was a day game. Bases loaded, nobody out. They did not get a run in. I mean, that can't happen. I mean, the Yankees did that the other day, but that can't happen, especially against the Miami Marlins of all teams. So it really is something crazy, but today, excited about the Yankees. That's really it. That's the motto. I mean, very good things happening with the New York Yankees. Let's enjoy this. And today, we go for the sweep. And if we go for the sweep today and we win it today, we're going to be on an ultimate high. And then we have Minnesota coming up, which I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but they're a struggling rebuilding team. So right now, a lot of things favor the Yankees, but you got to get the job done today, then you can get to Minnesota. Again, then you can focus on Minnesota, 4-game set at Yankee Stadium. All right, so with all that being said, let's get to the topics for today. We got a little baseball, football action to get to today. We're going to start off the podcast with Jamal Adams' contract extension. Yes, the Seattle Seahawks and Jamal Adams have finally agreed on a contract extension. It took a while, a lot of ups and downs and negotiations and this and that, and we're giving you a deal and you got to respond by this time, and all of this drama that went into it. Jamal Adams is now officially locked up, and he's the highest paid NFL safety in the league. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this deal, give you a little bit of just numbers on Adams, and give you a couple different things. I wanted to get to that. And as I mentioned in the intro, Luis Gil has been successful. And that's going to be my second topic today. I want to get into Luis Gil. I mean, the guy's been dominant. He's been record-breaking things. He's going down in history. A guy who has already made a huge impact on the New York Yankees, and he's only been here for 3 starts. So I wanted to get to Luis Gil, his impact on on this team, and ultimately his success and what he brings to the table moving forward. So we'll get to that. He was a replacement pitcher, people. This wasn't a guy that we called up to be in our rotation. He was a replacement pitcher because of all the COVID issues. And now there's a chance that, if not this year, but definitely next year, he could have a chance of being in this rotation every 5 days. So we'll see how it all plays out. But we got to enjoy this right now because he is putting on a show these 3 times he's taken the mounds. And it's kind of funny because each team's gone better. You go to the Baltimore Orioles, right? That was his first game, right? His first game, all that stuff. He pitched really well. It was against the Orioles, though. But hey, still pitched well. You go to his second game, and it's like against the Mariners, so the team gets better, pitch well there. And then you get to his third game with the Boston Red Sox, and like that last night was the ultimate test. Like, is this guy really it? And I think he is. So we'll get to him. And then we'll get to the New York Sports Update, finish up the podcast with the New York Sports Update, whatever you want to say. No football on today. Tomorrow there's a Patriots-Eagles game on tomorrow. And then Friday you got a lot of games, and then into Saturday and all that good stuff. So a lot of football on over the weekend as we get closer and closer and closer to week 1. As week 1 gets closer and closer, we all know it's I'm going to start to talk about more and more football. So a lot on tap. Yankees play today, third game of the weird 3-game set, doubleheader yesterday, today. Going for the sweep today, and the Mets have the third game of the 3-game set against San Francisco before they head out to L.A. for 4 games. So Mets got to find a way to salvage today's game, because if they don't salvage today's game, they're 0-6 throughout this, and then you got to go to L.A., which is even harder, and Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and you got to face Scherzer, Buehler, I think. Just brutal for the New York Mets. So we'll see how all that plays out. But with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Jamal Adams, Seahawks agreed to reported $70 million contract, is NFL's top paid safety. Yes, all of the madness, the drama, the back and forth, the this and the that, and we'll give you this extension, and if you accept that, and we're going to give you a timetable, we've give you a deal, you accept it, I want another deal, all of the craziness that went on. Now, not that there was much craziness, but it did last a long time. I mean, we could say that Jamal Adams has been wanting a deal ever since last season ended, so it's been a couple months now, even longer than that. I'm not going to go into the thing, whatever, 5-6 months now, whatever, that he's wanted a deal. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks and Jamal Adams have agreed on a contract extension. And we all knew that this was going to happen, right? I don't think many people thought, and if you did think this, that's not true. A lot of people thought once Jamal Adams left the New York Jets and he got traded to those Seattle Seahawks, his whole contract thing was just going to be over. Jamal Adams' whole reason of leaving the Jets was, number one, they were not a very good team when he was there. They did not have a good coaching staff. We all know that was the Adam Gase time, and the whole culture just wasn't there, and he didn't like it, and he wasn't a fan of it. He wanted out. He also wanted to get paid, and the Jets were not willing to give him the big amount of money. So the Jets traded him, got Bradley McDougald in return, and got 2 first-round picks. One of those picks we traded up and got Elijah Vera Tucker this year. We got another one in next year's draft. Bradley McDougald's no longer on the team. He's on the Tennessee Titans. He played 1 year with the Jets. Didn't do anything special. He had a couple of moments here and there, but other than that, he was just your average safety. So, I believe safety cornerback, whatever. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, the New York Jets made that trade. And at first, like I said, I never really liked the trade at first. Now you kind of look back on it, and we get Tucker, and now the Jets kind of culture's changed. We got the coach. The whole look on the New York Jets is so different, and that kind of Jamal Adams trade seems like it's way in the rearview mirror now with everything, all the change that we made to the roster, going out, getting Zach Wilson, Corey Davis, drafting Elijah Moore, even to go to the defense, Carl Lawson, Marcus May returns on the franchise tag. So many changes here and there. That Jamal Adams trade kind of seems like it's in the rearview mirror. But for the Seattle Seahawks, they finally get a deal done. And like I said, we all knew that Jamal Adams, when he went to Seattle, was going to still want a deal. I think a lot of people expected when Jamal Adams went to Seattle, his whole thing that he wanted a contract extension was just going to go out the window. That's not true. Jamal Adams wanted an extension. He wanted an extension with the Jets. The Jets weren't willing to give it to him. He wasn't very happy with the Jets, their whole situation and their culture and their front office. He requested a trade. Jets accepted that request, got rid of him, traded him to Seattle. This was last offseason. About a year ago, July, I believe, was when he actually got traded last year, before the weird year. And we all knew going into last season as Jets fans, it was going to be an interesting year with Gase returning and Darnold in his third year and not really knowing what's going to come with him. A lot of unanswered questions last season with the Jets. Now this season, we got a lot more of those questions answered, and it seems like we got a lot more of a firm base going into the season. So the Seahawks get the deal done. And I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this deal and not like it and say, oh, he's overpaid. Now, sure, is he the best safety in the league? That's an argument to be made that you could say Budda Baker, you could say Minkah Fitzpatrick, you could say plenty of guys. Is he the best safety in the league? I truly do believe when he was with the New York Jets, maybe that's just me being a Jet fan, he was the best safety in the league. But now some other guys have kind of arose, like Budda Baker and Minkah Fitzpatrick's he was good with the Dolphins, but he is really breaking out with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, you Tyrann Mathieu, and, there's not too many elite safeties in the league. There's only a couple of them. I do say that Jamal Adams does fall into that category of he is an elite safety. You look into the elite safeties, and it's, Budda Baker, I do think he's a little overpaid, but he had a good year last year. Minkah Fitzpatrick's been great for the Steelers. When they made that trade to get Minkah Fitzpatrick from the Dolphins, that was a good trade. Minkah Fitzpatrick was very good with the Dolphins, but he's been even better with the Steelers. Put him into that defensive scheme with Mike Tomlin, with that defense, that energy, fighting for a playoff spot. He's been even better. And that entire Steelers defense has been even better. So would I say Jamal Adams is the best safety in the league? Sure, there's definitely an argument to be made. If you make the argument, I would definitely be on your side. But if you make the argument to be otherwise, I would listen to both sides of it. I do believe, though, Jamal Adams, you could say, is a top 3 safety in the league. And I know a lot of people, I'm a Jet fan, and I know a lot of Jet fans don't like Jamal Adams anymore. I still like Jamal Adams a lot. I still root for him. I like the way he plays the game. He plays with a lot of passion. I say this about a lot of guys, but Jamal Adams does fall into a lot of those categories. I know a lot of Jet fans don't like him. I still like him. I still think he's one of the best safeties in the league. I know a lot of people are going to want to talk about, let's see his coverage. Let's see his interception numbers. Well, he's not that type of guy. And I made this comparison a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, when I talked about his contract rumors and their situation revolving around the contract. This was before a deal got done. I said, it's not fair to compare Jamal Adams to Minkah Fitzpatrick in terms of like his interceptions. And it's also not fair to compare Minkah Fitzpatrick's like sacks to Jamal Adams. Because Minkah Fitzpatrick doesn't blitz as much and is not more as much as a linebacker type role as Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is more of a blitzing type safety. He tackles for loss, gets in the quarterback's face. That's more of Jamal Adams. I said this too about a week ago. I said too, like, it's unfair to compare like Tom Brady's rushing stats last season to Lamar Jackson's. Because Tom Brady's not a rushing quarterback, and Lamar Jackson is. So are we going to try and, say, Tom Brady's not good enough because he can't run the ball? It's the same thing with Jamal Adams. Are we going to say Jamal Adams isn't a good safety just because he's not a great guy, that he's not great in coverage? No, because that's the way he plays the game. He's more of a blitzing safety. He's going to tackle you for loss. He's a hard-hitting safety. Are we gonna say bad things about Minkah Fitzpatrick because he doesn't blitz as much, he doesn't get as many sacks? No, because he's more of a coverage safety. So Jamal Adams is his own unique safety. And the bad thing that's going around is, this guy can't be in coverage. Well, yeah, because he's a unique type safety. Every guy has a unique play style. Every guy does. There's deep ball receivers in the league, and there's guys that can catch the ball 5 yards from the line of scrimmage and turn upfield for 15 more. Are we gonna say bad things about the guy that can't catch the deep ball? No, because he's not a deep ball receiver. Right? Everybody always says bad things about Jamal Adams, about how he can't beat coverage. Eliminate the coverage. Look at the numbers otherwise. His quarterback pressures, his tackles for loss, his sacks, his stopping the run. I mean, there's been a lot of big plays. There was a play, I forget which game it was, but there was a play, they were about to get into the end zone, like it was at the 5-yard line, and he wrapped around the edge and tackled, like I said, I'm not too sure who the running back was, but he stopped him at like the 3-yard line. He was clear to the end zone. Jamal Adams came behind him and just wrecked him. So he does all those things right. And he fits in the Seattle Seahawks scheme. So you could call him overpaid. You could say, he's not good at this or that. But that's because he's unique and he's a different type safety than a lot of other guys. And he fits in the Seattle Seahawks defense. And when you get a guy, I've always said this, I've been a big believer in not so much all the talent players out there, but if you can get the guys that are the scheme fits, that's the best. Because we see guys, when they're not in the right scheme, they don't work out. They don't. We see it all the time. You try to put a guy into a scheme, and it just doesn't work out. That's why the Jets drafted Zach Wilson. Because he the same scheme that the Jets are using is the one he used at BYU. So he's already used to it. He's just coming into the NFL, which is much different. Speed of the game's different, but it's not like he's changing different schemes. So I believe that some people might want to go out and get all the talent and sign all the talent, but I believe scheme fits are the best. And that's also why they extended him, because he's a scheme fit. He fits well in the defense. He does his job. Let's be honest here. The Legion of Boom, all that stuff with the Seahawks, a lot of blitzing, a lot of sacks. Their defense was their strength. And Jamal Adams is a big part of why their defense still is a strength. But the verdict of, he doesn't get enough interceptions, and let's compare his interceptions to Vince Wilfork. I'm just using a name. That's not fair, because Jamal Adams isn't an interception type safety. So, that's what I'm saying. Like, are we going to compare a zoned cornerback to a man cornerback? No, because a zoned cornerback he's in the zone. He's not as good as he is against man coverage. So that's what I'm talking about. And that's where a lot of people are taking a bad rap with Jamal Adams. He doesn't get interceptions. Interceptions for him because he's more of a linebacker safety. And that fits well in the Seattle Seahawks scheme. It might not fit well in your team's scheme, but it does with the Seahawks. And the Seahawks have been running that for a long time now, and it's been with Pete Carroll. So him and Pete Carroll have a good relationship. Jamal Adams has said for his entire career he wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to compete for a championship. There is a team. There's a couple teams out there that are competing for a championship. I would say Seattle is one of those teams that you could say are going to be a playoff team and are in the conversation. Right? It's not like they've changed many things from last season. There's a lot of teams out there that you could say are in the playoff hunt. Then there's only a select few that you could say are in Super Bowl contention. And then we'll eventually find out in February who the two teams are. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself right now because we haven't even started the year yet. But I'm just saying in general. So, this is a good deal for the Seahawks. And yeah, you're paying him a lot of money. Yeah, you're making the highest paid safety. But that's because he dominates the playing field at what he does. He's very good tackles for loss, very good sack, very good quarterback pressures, makes big tackles. He's quick. He's very quick to the line of scrimmage. People don't realize this. He gets to the line of scrimmage quick. For a guy that can line up 10, 15 yards from the line of scrimmage and to get to the quarterback in that amount of time is pretty crazy. That's something that I find underrated too. Everyone's going to talk about the sacks and all that, like I am. I am talking about the tackles for loss and all that. But it's, how quick he gets to the line of scrimmage. And a lot of times, how the Seahawks run their defense is that left tackle, let's say he comes through the left side. The left side's already occupied. He gets right around that left tackle, and boom, he gets him. And there's sometimes, too, where he lines up in that blitzing kind of formation there. But, like I said, he's unique. He's a unique player. He's unique at his position, but what he does is so good. And he's just been unreal. And there's a stat about most, tackles for loss or quarterback pressure, whatever it was. But Jamal Adams was way ahead of it. The next closest was Budda Baker, and Jamal Adams 19 more. So, you compare the numbers, right, of Jamal Adams' strengths to many other safeties. Many other safeties don't have Jamal Adams' strengths. Sure, a lot of safeties, it's easy for a lot of these safeties to go out and get all these interceptions. But not many of these guys are loading up the sacks and the tackles for loss and all that stuff. So, right? That's what I'm saying. It's not fair to compare either. I'm just saying in general. So are we going to talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick's lack of sacks? No, because he doesn't sack much. Right? Jamal Adams just gets so much hate, really, for no reason. I've always said that. Even when he was with the Jets, people were always like, oh, he always sacks too much. Yeah, because that's how he plays the game. So, good deal for the Seahawks. Scheme fit. And the Seahawks, right, they're not losing. They're only gaining here. For a guy that had a good year last year, you can't sit here and, right, for a guy that had a good year last year, right, to not have him out there, and if you didn't re-sign him and he held out, that's not good. So the Seahawks definitely had to get a deal done. And they had to get a deal done sooner rather than later. So you look at some of the top safeties in the league. You go Justin Simmons, Harrison Smith, Marcus Williams is pretty good, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Adams. Marcus May, I guess you might be able to consider top 15, but I don't know if that's that, but I don't know if it's as good, but I don't know if he's as good, but you could make the argument. Jesse Bates is pretty good. Tyrann Mathieu up there. Anthony Harris, Kevin Byard. Micah Hyde's really good. Jordan Poyer, both Bills safeties. Bills have a very good secondary over there with Trey White. Budda Baker. I'm just naming some off this list here just to give you some examples of some of them. Antoine Winfield had a good year, rookie year last season. So there's a lot of really good safeties. You get to Eddie Jackson's and all them, and they're a little bit past their prime. Jabril Peppers has had a good run with the Giants so far. Landon Collins isn't the same player with Washington, but there's a lot of good safeties out there. And you could make the argument top three are Adams, Justin Simmons, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Baker, Hyde, Poyer. You could make those arguments that those are probably about the top 5, top 7. And then your guys on the outside looking in might be like Derwin James. Because Derwin James, let's be honest here, he can't stay healthy. It's a guy who injured, gets back, injured again. So until we can call Derwin James a top 3 safety, he's got to show us he can stay healthy. Because when he's healthy, he's very good, but he's not out there consistently. So, it definitely does go to show you that Jamal Adams is up there with the best. Some of the best at safety position, and that's why he's getting paid. All right, so most pressures by a defensive back since 2017. This is the thing I wanted to read you. Jamal Adams, number 1, 78. Okay? Budda Baker, number 2, 46. Tied for third is Mike Hilton, and tied for third is Malcolm Jenkins, both 41 apiece. So this stat just goes to show you, most pressure by defensive back. Jamal Adams is way ahead of them. 22 more pressures than Budda Baker. 22 more. Or 32, rather. 32. 32 more pressures by by Jamal Adams, rather. That just goes to show you how much he's dominant at pressuring the quarterback and getting to the quarterback. Now, sure, if you compare the interceptions, he would be at the bottom of the list. But that's because that's not his strength. Every player has strengths, weaknesses. His strength tends to be getting to the quarterback, sacking him, blitzing, tackles for loss, getting to the running back in open field tackling. Those are his strengths. Interceptions, coverage, man on man, zoned, that's not his strength. His other strengths are pressuring and all those. So 78 quarterback pressures since 2017. That's the most by a defensive back. Defensive back, actually. We're talking defensive back. That kind of just hit me here. Not just safeties. We're talking defensive backs. DBs. So, he's up there, and I definitely agree with this contract. Now, is the highest paid safety in the league? Justin Simmons are also up there as well. We'll see. Well, you got to kind of sit here and see if he really is the best still, because now Justin Simmons and Matthew and all those guys have kind of arose. But, when he was back with the Jets, it was him and Mika Fitzpatrick. Buda Baker, Justin Simmons never really made a name for themselves yet. Now they're up there. But Jamal Adams, Seahawks agreed to a reported $70 million contract. He's NFL's top paid safety. Jamal Adams will remain with the Seattle Seahawks after the two sides agreed to a 4-year extension on Tuesday. Per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Adams will become the highest paid safety in NFL after agreeing to a 4-year, $70 million deal that includes $38 million guaranteed. Adam Schefter of ESPN noted Adams' new deal can max out at $72 million. The 25-year-old is coming off a huge first season with the Seahawks, tallying 9.5 sacks in just 12 games to earn his third straight Pro Bowl selection. Adams provides a unique ability to rush the passer from the secondary that is unmatched among those at his position. Like I said, no one else can pressure the quarterback as good as him. And you could say that he's up there with some of the better safeties. You could say that he's up there with some of the recent safety that's played throughout the league, not just going back last season, but even a couple years before that into his rookie year and stuff, that he's been arguably the best safety at pressuring quarterbacks in the past, really ever since 2017. That's the truth. As I mentioned earlier, 78 quarterback pressures, by far the most among defensive backs. The 2016 number 6 overall pick was set to hit free agency after the 2021 season, but it was important for Seattle to lock him down after giving up 2 first-round picks and a trade with the New York Jets. The squad also gave up safety Bradley McDougald and a 2021 third-round pick in exchange for the strong safety and a 2022 fourth-round pick. The LSU product has reportedly requested a trade from New York, as he was seeking a new contract with the team worth more than $20 million per year, per Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Greg Bell of the News Tribune reported the Seahawks expected a deal worth over $16 million per year since making the trade. Adams was voted first-team All-Pro in 2019 after totaling 6.5 sacks and 2 defensive touchdowns. The Texas native ranked third on the team with 83 tackles and helped the squad finish 15th in points allowed en route to a 12-4 record. The long-term deal gets Seattle more value from its original trade while locking down an impactful player on the defensive side of the ball. That's something people don't realize, too. You could talk about all the interceptions, but, this is a guy, in certain packages, you could put him at linebacker. Not many other safeties out there can you do that. All right? So, I'm just saying. And I know I am pro Jamal, and I like him a lot. I still do. I've liked him ever since he was a New York Jet. Now, when we originally drafted him, I wasn't happy, but once I realized what he could do and actually how he can impact the game, and we saw that when he was with the Jets, it was unbelievable. But in general, in my opinion, he can do a lot. A lot of people think, all he could do is just sack. No, there's a lot more he could do. Once again, sacks are a stat that a lot of people just talk about and want to just blab on and on about. But, tackles for loss, his pressures, all that stuff, all you have to bring into account. I've said this millions of times, but, every sport has that stat. I've said this millions of times, so I don't need to say it again, but I will here. Every sport has a certain stat that everyone just always focuses on. NBA, it's all points per game. That's all they care about. They don't care about assists. They don't care about steals. They don't care about blocks. They don't care about rebounds. Everyone just cares about points per game. You're putting up 30 points a game, but you have 15 turnovers per game. Well, everyone's just going to talk about your 30 points per game. Same thing here with the baseball, right? For pitchers, it's a lot of times ERA, which I myself too. ERA is a little different with pitchers because it is big. I mean, if you have a 6 ERA, that probably means you're not a good pitcher. Unlike in basketball, you could put up 30 points per game, but you might not be good at anything else. Pitcher, if you have a 6 earned run, doesn't mean you're that good. That probably means that you're not that good. If you have a 1.90 ERA, that's not something that's just rare, right? So, in baseball, too, for hitters, it's home runs. No one's going to talk about singles, doubles. Batting average is big, too, but this point where we are now with baseball, everyone just cares about home runs. You hit 50 home runs in the year, but bat 210, everyone's just going to talk about your home runs. You bat 280 and hit 20 home runs, not as many people are going to talk about it because you're not hitting as many home runs. So that's it. And in NHL, it's all about goals, not assists, plus, minus, hits, blocks, all that stuff. It's goals. Football, it's for quarterbacks, it's touchdowns. It's not yards, it's not interceptions, it's not accuracy, it's not yards per throw, it's touchdowns. Everyone cares about the touchdowns. And for football, for defense linemen, sacks, and for cornerbacks, it's all about interceptions, and safeties, it's all about interceptions. No one cares about anything else. So Jamal Adams, that's why he gets a bad rap, because he doesn't get interceptions. And that's all right, because he's a different style player. He's a unique safety. I will say 5 more times if you need me to, because he is. And solid deal for the Seahawks, and a big piece of their defense returns. That's really all I got on this. It really is. And you could a lot of people do ask me if I don't like the trade. I have no issue with the trade now. When it first went down, I didn't like it because we're giving up Jamal Adams and all that stuff. But now, to the point now where he's signing an extension and all that stuff, let's say we do extend him, I could see him thriving in Salah's defense. But you also got to realize that Marcus May would have never arose like he did. So, there's always that, there's always, even out of a negative, you could always take a positive, right? At first, it was, when I heard that the Jets traded Jamal Adams, I thought it was a negative. And you could go back on the podcast, I talked about it, I didn't like it. But now, that season, a positive was Marcus made his career year. And that was without Jamal Adams because he got more of a bigger role at safety position. So, kind of that kind of thing. And then you also get Elijah Vera-Tucker out of that trade. So I feel like after all, it's kind of a win-win. Because the Jets got what they wanted. Marcus May had a great season. They got Elijah Vera-Tucker. They have another first-round pick next season. And now the Seahawks get their safety. They extended him. They like him a lot. And that's kind of it. It's kind of like, after all, it's a win-win. No one side lost the deal. It's kind of a win-win at this point. Both sides got what they needed, and both sides have been doing well with the trade. Seahawks extend Adams. Jets get Elijah Vera-Tucker. And Marcus May had a great season last year. And they get another first-round pick as well. So it balances itself out in the end. But Jamal Adams, highest paid safety in the NFL. Alrighty, so coming up next here, I wanted to get into Luis Gil's success as a New York Yankee. For a guy that started off the season in Double-A, is now on fire and making big starts and big moments in the season. And last night again, he shuts down the Boston Red Sox offense. We'll get to that coming up next. Alright, so you welcome me back here, and man, oh man, has Luis Gil been a huge part of this New York Yankees team here, and it really is pretty wild how big of a factor he's been to the New York Yankees. And we've talked about this the past couple weeks here with the New York Yankees being on a groove, being on a roll. They do win another series, although today we go for the sweep, and I would love to get a sweep. We do win another series, winning 2 out of 3, obviously with the 2 yesterday, taking a doubleheader. I'll tell you what, it really is something that is really crazy, what all these different pieces have done for the New York Yankees. You have the whole COVID situation, and, Garrett Cole's down, and Jordan Montgomery's down. Cole returned on Monday, Monty returned yesterday, they both look solid. All these different missing pieces. And then you even get into Rizzo down, and you had Judge was down there for a little bit, and Urshela, and Gleyber Torres, and then you look at all these different guys left and right all over these guys, all these different guys. It's pretty crazy, these guys that have been able to step up and make big time, play and be a big time contributor to this team. Because the last thing we all needed as New York Yankee fans, and as the Yankees as a whole, were to hear that Cole was on the COVID IL, and that Rizzo was on the COVID IL, and that Judge was on the COVID IL, and all those different guys. Those were the last thing we needed to hear when we were trying to make a run. And we've done perfectly fine with all those missing pieces. And you can only imagine when we get those pieces back what it can be like. And you've had Greg Allen step up. You've had Higgy, he got an increased role with Sanchez being on the IL. He has stepped up. You look at the pitching, and you've had some good openers. You've had Nestor Cortez really go into a role like he's one of our best pitchers. Jameson Taillon continues to step up and be a big part of the team. You look at, Tyler Wade. He's been on fire. Christian Velasquez, his first ever season with the New York Yankees. He had a big hit in yesterday's game. These are guys that at the beginning of the season, were down in AA, AAA, wherever they were. Probably, I mean, not saying that not having hope, not saying that they don't have hope that they're gonna go to the MLB and play with the Yankees, but probably Yankees playing for them was probably not on their mind at the beginning of the season, especially, as a pitcher in Luis Gil, as we kind of shift our attention more to him with, Cole and Kluber and Herman and all those guys and Tyone. The beginning of the season, it was like Gil was kind of in a weird situation starting in AA. It was one of those things like, it was kind of like, if the pitching rotation's fine, we don't really need another pitcher. We know we got a prospect, but it was kind of a weird situation. And now Luis Gil is Luis Gil's chewing up and making big starts in the biggest games of the season. And it really is wild what he has done. And last night shuts down the Boston Red Sox offense. 5-3 win, Yankees win. He went 4 2/3, 3 hits, no runs, no earned, no home runs, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He did walk a lot of guys, but 4 strikeouts. That's 18 on the season, and his stats all of this year: 3-0, 15 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, no runs across the boards, no home runs at all, 7 walks, and 18 strikeouts. He has been something special to watch. And you got to save this, because this is something you don't see very often in the MLB, where you get a guy that starts the season in AA, then gets called up to AAA, and then in arguably the biggest series of the season against the Boston Red Sox is starting the nightcap of the doubleheader last night. And he did not disappoint. And I know, Yankees have, Kluber on the verge of coming back, and he threw a rehab start the other day. And I know Severino's, he's shut down now, but, hopefully he comes back eventually, even if he comes back for the playoffs if we get there. Right? There's always those things. I understand that, Herman will be back eventually. So, eventually Gil's probably going to be back down in AAA for good. But if he continues to pitch like this, let's say he gets 2 more starts before Herman, Kluber, maybe Severino, all those guys decide to come back. But let's say he gets another 2 more starts and, I don't know, he does well in the next 2. I mean, does he go 5 starts without allowing a run? I think that might be impossible, but we'll see. We'll also have to see the opponents he's going up against. But let's just say he goes another 2 more starts and all that stuff. And he pitches well in his next 2 starts. Then Kluber and Herman start to come back and all that stuff. This is a guy who, number one, you got to have on your postseason roster. And number 2, if not this season, but definitely next year, the New York Yankees got to see this guy, Gil. There's a good chance that he might be able to be in a rotation with the New York Yankees next year, in a full-time rotation. And you could even make the argument that maybe this season they decide to do that if he continues to pitch like he has. And I know it's his first 3 games, and, these teams have never faced him before, and they did say last night on the broadcast that it is, the advantage is the pitcher when the team's never faced you. I understand that. But there also is, at the same time, for a young guy to have composure like he does on the mound and to go out there and just dominate and just do his job so well, it's just amazing. For a guy that started the season in AA to now be up here with the Yankees, I just can't stress how crazy that is and how big of a part he's been, how big of a part he's been to this team. I mean, you don't realize, you go, at the end of this year, you go back to the season, and hopefully at the end of this year we're hosting the World Series trophy. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. I'm just saying that's the goal of any team. Let's say at the end of the year that's what you do. You got to look back on this season, and sure, it might get lost in the mix of a lot of things that went on. Right, it might get lost in the mix because there's still a lot more games that have to be played. But if you look back and the Yankees at the end of this season, you look back and you see all the different things that went on throughout the year, especially between the months of July and August, with all the COVID IL, the injuries, the subs coming in, the Velasquez's, the Wades, the Gils, all these different guys getting bigger roles. Okay? You got to look back and say, these guys were a big part of why we did whatever. I'm saying at the beginning of the season. I'm not predicting anything. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm just saying. At the end of the year, you pull out you look at the season. You look at it as a whole, and you kind of recap it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, Heel will go down as a pitcher that was a huge part of why things went. Like, let's say the Yankees make the playoffs. Heel's a big part of it. He's a big part of it. It's going to get lost in the mix, but he's a big part of it. Going up against your division rivals, a team that you have struggled against this entire year, for him to go out there last night and pitch the way he did is something special. And I think there's a true excitement around the Yankees fan base about what we have in Luis Heel. Because, this isn't, like I said, this isn't no name that we just called up. I mean, this is a guy that is one of the Yankees' top prospects, one of the top pitching prospects and one of their top prospects overall. So it's not like this is just a random no name that the Yankees called up and making a big impression. That's why I think there's always that thing in the back of your mind that, oh yeah, it's only his first 2 starts, but this is kind of what to expect from Luis Heel, given that he is, one of the top prospects, and he is one of those guys that has a bright future ahead of him. So I guess you kind of expect this, but I don't know if any of us expected him to be this good. I really don't. Steven Ridings, the Bronner guy, Luis Heel, 3 guys from the minor leagues eating up big-time innings. And the Yankees win 2 yesterday. We go for the sweep. Now, we did return Luis Heel to Scranton. He's a 27th man. But I hope he'll probably be back up by his next start. I'm telling you, I'm going to be honest here. I like Herman. I think he's a good pitcher when he's good. But Herman's not been right this season. He hasn't been. I think we can all agree on that. He has not been right this year. He's had ups and downs and ebbs and flows and all that stuff. And you can kind of say the same thing about the Yankees as a whole. But it's now we're really on a roll here. If Herman continues to struggle, and you're talking about a game against the Boston Red Sox, or a good big game. I don't know against who, but let's say it's a big game. I would take Heel out there right now. I mean, personally, I would. And this guy, too, they're talking about the broadcast. I'm not a big fan of the Yes broadcast, but they did make a good point yesterday. And I've always said this. As much as I might not like broadcast or like team stuff, I will always point out things. I'm not just going to not point out any positives. So they did say something on broadcast that I definitely agreed with. Luis Heel, when he's out there, and when the picture and the camera zoomed in on him, like when there was that one inning where I believe it was first and second. It wasn't his final inning. It wasn't his final inning where the bases were loaded, then they took him out. That wasn't it. That was it was a different inning. But he got himself into a jam. And sometimes young pitchers, you see young players in general, you see they'll be very they'll be nervous. You could tell in their face their emotions, like they're just not you could maybe stepping off the mound a lot, pacing a little bit, throwing a lot of balls, just chucking the ball in, throwing a lot of balls, and in the dirt and high and outside and all those things. You see it a lot with young players. It's the first time you're starting, big game, Yankee Stadium. You see it a lot. Luis Heel, on the other hand, he looked like he's been in that situation millions of times. Not just in the minor leagues. I'm just saying he's looked like he's been in that situation millions of times throughout his career. Like, that situation was nothing for him. But in reality, you're talking about runners on against the Boston Red Sox in a big series against a team that's against a team that's been really good against you all season long. And he was able to get the job done. That's something that I think is big. You can look at his stuff and look at his strikeouts and all that stuff. But the composure, the way he just commanded the zone was really good. And I don't see why there would be a Yankee fan out there that wouldn't want to see this guy be back out there if there is another big situation. Because I'm starting to have trust in him. Like, I feel like in a way, there's a lot of pressure on him, but I feel like in a way he might be taking a little bit of a different approach. Like, just go out there and do my thing. Kind of that approach. Like, just do my thing. Like, pretend like this is minor leagues and just do that. Like, because his composure's been great. Like I said, there's a lot of even you see older you see guys come out of the bullpen. It'll be bases loaded, 1 out, and they'll throw 4 balls in a row and walk in a home. Walk in a run. That's all nerves, and that's just all nerves and stuff. It also could be not able to find the zone early. Some guys just don't. It's just some guys just have days where they can't find the strike zone. But there's also times where their first 4 pitches will be a ball, and then they'll finally get their self collected and stuff. But that's a lot of times all nerves and all things like that. And you sometimes see that about rookies, especially hard-throwing rookies, where they'll just throw like 101 up in the zone all the time, and they'll be wild with it. And that's all nerves. But he controls it. And I'll tell you what, that fastball where he got Jaron Duran out on, his fastball is really good. And it is something that's really good. I mean, you see that thing. I've always said this in baseball. Curveball, slider, sinkers, changeup, knuckle curves, sweeping fastball, sweeping curve. If there is any pitcher out there that still throws a knuckleball, there might be. I don't know. Either way, all those different pitches out there. I've always said this. I think the best pitch and the hardest pitch to hit in baseball is a well-executed fastball up in the zone. Because that thing looks like a cookie down the middle coming in, and it just comes up on you last second. And like a baseball can't rise, like we all know. Baseball actually can't rise. Like it can't start here and go up in that. That can't happen. It can go like this and in that, or this, that. It could do left and right. It could start up then go down, but it can never be down and go up. A baseball can't do that. But it does have the action on it where it looks like a rising fastball. It looks like it's starting here then going up, but it's actually here, but as it gets closer and closer and closer, it starts to come up on you. And I play baseball now. Now I'm not facing 101 mile an hour fastballs, but there is always, high fastballs. A lot of people always say, "Oh, why is he swinging at that?" Well, he's swinging at it because I'm telling you, it looks really good coming in, but that thing just creeps up on you last second, and by the time you already made the decision to swing, it's too hard to hold back. And that's that fastball up in the zone, and you could see the box on the screen on the TV. It's up from the box. But that's because it looks like it starts like down the middle, and all of a sudden as it goes closer and closer and closer, it looks like it's coming at you, and you just swing anyway because you've already made your decision. And when you get that thing up in the zone 2 at 101 in the hundreds, he can get it up to 98. He sits more 94 to 96, but he can get up to there to 98. That's when it really gets hard, is when it's up there. Sure, you get 93 up in the zone, it's not an easy thing to hit, but it's much easier than hitting 101. You see a lot of times 94 up in the zone, players tend to hold off a little bit more. But when you get up there like 98 into the hundreds, that's a pitch that's dominant. It's dominant. Now, sure, players will hold off, but it's a pitch that's dominant. And, especially when you get a guy like a Jaron Duran or someone like that. I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying in general. And you get a guy that's tall and stands up there tall. It's right about at their letters, and sometimes that's a strike. So they're kind of forced to swing a little bit. But I'll tell you what. He's something fun. He's fun to watch. And, he's one of those guys that, he just goes out there. He's calm, cool, collected, doesn't show any emotion, does not at all. We saw it when they were threatening with runners on. Some rookies might, like I said, some rookies might pace and throw all these wild balls and ask for a new ball and walk around the mound and, hit their cleat on that, on the cleat thingy on the back of the mound, get a rosin bag or whatever, take off their hat. They might do all that stuff. We see it all the time. But him gets the ball, puts his foot on the rubber, gets focused, gets the sign, comes back, throws the pitch. Same thing over and over again. He's efficient, he's quick, and he's something fun to watch. And, his first test was against the Baltimore Orioles, which it's an MLB team, MLB talent. Kind of what he would be facing at AAA in a way, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's the truth. A lot of that team's minor leaguers in the Baltimore Orioles, and it's the truth. A lot of them are minor leaguers. Like guys that just got called up or guys that are up and down. It's really what it is. Same thing here with, with Louis Heel. And, he had a good start against them. And progressively, the teams he's played has gone better. It's been the Orioles, then the Mariners, and the Red Sox. And the big thing was he's passed the test against all three. So what's next? I don't know. We do go to the Oakland A's soon. Does he pitch against them? Does he pitch against the Braves? That's another big test. He might pitch against Minnesota. I'm not sure. Because if he pitched yesterday, he got today's game against Boston. He might actually get like a Sunday game against Minnesota. There's a chance. With the 4-game set, there's a good chance that Yankees use a lot more pitchers, because of 4 games. You might see, with the 4-game set, I don't know. I'm trying to think. You have if Cole pitched Monday, Monty pitched yesterday, Heel pitched yesterday. Today it's Heaney. Tomorrow will be probably Tyone. Cole will probably then pitch Thursday, I guess. No, Friday rather, because tomorrow's Thursday. Friday, I guess. And then Saturday, or with Nestor Cortez too. Cortez could probably pitch. It probably could be Tyone, Cortez, then Cole, or Cole or Cortez, Tyone, Cole, something like that. And then Monty again, which Monty's after Cole. So maybe he might actually not pitch against the Twins. Because if they do decide to pitch Nestor Cortez, then he won't pitch. Because Nestor Cortez will go one of those games. It's going to be Cole, Tyone, Monty. Because Monty's going to probably pitch to one of the last games. If Cole pitches Saturday, Monty will pitch Sunday. And either Cortez or Tyone will pitch Thursday, Friday. And Heel might get a Brave series, although by then, who knows if Kluber or Herman's back. I don't think Herman's going to be back then because Herman, I don't think, has done a rehab assignment yet. But we'll see. So, I'm not sure next time he pitches. I could actually probably look at the probables here. Let's get it up here. We could go. So tonight we got Andrew Heaney versus Nick Pivetta. Tomorrow it will be Tyone. Thursday or Friday will be Cortez. So it's going to be Nestor Cortez. Then Saturday will be Cole. Sunday will be Monty. Yep. And then Monday, it's technically Heaney again. And then Tuesday, it will be Tyone. So maybe they don't pitch him again then. We'll see, though. But there's a very good chance that he's out there again. And if that's the case, then he'll get another opportunity. We'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But, Heel's definitely doing pretty good. And for a guy that, like I said, started his season at AA with the Somerset Patriots, the new AA team for the New York Yankees, and then goes to the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, the AAA team, and now gets the call up and has pitched 3 big games and 3 really good games. And last night, I think we can definitely say was the biggest one of them all. In terms of energy, in terms of just magnitude of the game. And hey, you look at the standings now. The Yankees right now are on a wild card. Yankees right now on the wild card right now. They are 4 games up. There's actually a 3-way tie right now. But percentage-wise, the New York Yankees are above the Red Sox. So if the season would to end today, I believe the Yankees would be in because percentage-wise they're up. So, really crazy. You look at the standings. Yankees have now jumped the Red Sox. Yankees are 68-52 on the season, 5 games behind first place. First place isn't out of equation yet. It's really not completely out of the equation. It's not. It really isn't. But, tell you what, as crazy as it might sound, but the Yankees are 5 games back of being number 1 in the American League. That's not that far. It really is wild how much just what the Yankees have done. It really is crazy. It really is. It's something that is really wild, and our playoff percentage now is 70.9. So we went from being down all the way down into like the 50s and even lower to now back up to 70.9% chance of making the playoffs. So the Red Sox still have a better chance than us. Obviously the Rays do as well, but hey, Yankees continue to play like we are. We'll be good. And we actually have a higher chance of the A's too, which is good because that's the team we're fighting for as well. But this is one of these situations where I tend to do sometimes as well. And the only reason I read into the Twins series was because I just wanted to see possibly next time Heel could pitch. Who knows what they decide to do with him and the pitching and all that. But one of the things, with the Yankees, I've always said that, and even as a fan and as a player especially, like, these are things you have to take game by game. Especially after a big win last night. You could start brainstorming, like I just did, so I am a victim of it, and everybody is. You could start brainstorming, we're only this, and what if we beat this team and that. You just got to, but the whole thing is you got to take it game by game. Series by series, game by game, inning by inning, pitch by pitch. That's what you got to do. You can't, like the Yankees today, you got to focus up on this Red Sox game. You can't get caught looking ahead to a Minnesota series that you could sweep that series. So, and because that's the last thing you need. In big games like this, you can't get caught looking ahead, and then you look back on the season, and that game could have cost you. When you're fighting for a playoff spot, you need to do you need to do the best you can to just focus game by game, series by series, game by game, inning by inning, pitch by pitch. That's what you got to do. Can't get caught looking ahead. Can't look ahead to next series. Pretend like this is your world. Pretend like this is your final game of the season. Just focus on this. And in each game, you got to go in with that mindset of this is like the World Series. Each game, you got to go into that mindset. And when you're fighting for a playoff spot, you got to go in with the mindset of we got to try to find a way to win every single game. We do, because Yankees need that, and I'm hoping that the Yankees continue to roll. And tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN against the Red Sox. And you look at Heel last night, kind of finish off my final thoughts with him. He was very good, and Yankees continue to roll. So, really, really exciting. All right, so let's get to the New York Sports Update, finish off the podcast. As for yesterday in the MLB, Dodgers won, Diamondbacks won, Rockies won, Indians won, Mariners won, Brewers won, Royals won, White Sox won, Angels won, Nationals won, Rays won, Cubs won, and Braves won. Giants beat the Mets yesterday 3-2, so Mets moved to 59 and 60 on the season. It really is crazy that the Mets are failing this bad. I mean, it really is. Yankees won the first game 5-3, and Yankees won the second game 2-0. So Yankees moved to 60 and 52 on the season, like I mentioned earlier. And today we go for the sweep. All right, as for today, we got the Reds, Cubs. I'll give Reds the win. Twins, Indians, give Twins the win. Padres, Rockies, give Padres the win. Blue Jays, Nationals, give Blue Jays the win. Angels, Tigers, give Angels the win. Braves, Marlins, give Braves the win. Rays, Orioles, give Rays the win. Brewers, Cardinals, give Brewers the win. Mariners, Rangers, give Mariners the win. Cheaters, Royals, give Cheaters the win. White Sox, A's, give White Sox the win. Phillies, Diamondbacks, give Phillies the win. Dodgers, Pirates, give Dodgers the win. Giants, Mets play today as well. Did I already say Giants would win? Oh, no, I might have. Well, shocker, I think the Giants are going to win. But either way, Giants, Mets today. Giants come in this game 78 and 42. Mets come in this game 59 and 60. This game comes on today, 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time on LB Network. You can also find it on SNY. The Mets got Tyler McGill on the mound. He's 1-2 with a 3.42 ERA. And the Giants have got Anthony Fani, however you pronounce his name. He's 11-5 with a 3.29 ERA. The over-under for this game is 8.5. And 76% of people think the Giants will win. So give me the New York Giants. Give me the San Francisco Giants with the win. Let me just make sure I got that pitcher's name correct. Yes. Okay, I did. Anthony's first name. Descafani, something like that. And as for the Yankees and Red Sox, Yankees play today. Yankees come in this game going for the sweep. 60 and 52 on the season. Red Sox are 69 and 53. This game goes on today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. So this game's on ESPN. So that should be good. Boston's got Nick Pivetta on the mound. He's 9-5 with a 4.20 ERA. And the Yankees got Andrew Heaney on the mound. He's 7-8 with 5.78 ERA. The over-under for this game is 10. 62% of people think the Red Sox will win. Give me the Yankees. Not so confident with Heaney on the mound, but give me the Yankees to win. If he can just give us 4 good innings, that's all we ask for. All I'm asking, just give us 5 innings. Even if you allow 2 runs, just give us 5 innings, please. Don't allow 7 runs in like 3 innings and 5 home runs. Please don't do it. That's the last thing we need. It's the last thing we need. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think the Yankees will win. As for fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 69 to 63. Today I've got going Will Smith, Matt Olson, Marcus Semien, Austin Riley, Jay Cronenworth, Carlos Correa, Gene Segura, Christian Yelich, Whit Merrifield, Margo, Avisail Garcia, Josh Harrison, Luke Voigt. And we got some injury updates. I also got to make a roster move. Dylan Carlson was placed on the IL. Carlson was placed on the 10-day injured list Tuesday. 10-day injured list Tuesday with a sprained right wrist. And a scary incident yesterday in the Oakland A's game, which was it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Chris Bassett, very scary moment yesterday. He got hit in the face with a line drive, 100-mile-an-hour line drive back to the pitcher. So Definitely some scary things there. We'll see how he does. Hope for a speedy recovery, but this is actually positive news. He's had 20/20 vision. He ran through vision tests, so there was a lot of good news, but this is the update on him. Baskett was diagnosed with a fractured right cheekbone and a jawbone after being struck in the face by a Brian Goodwin line drive during his start in Tuesday's 9-0 loss to the White Sox. In the bottom of the second inning, John Heyman of MLB Network reports he is expected to undergo surgery in 3 to 5 days once the swelling on his face subsides. So he very well could be done for the season. And if that's the case, either I'll put him on my IL for now, and then we'll find out another solution. So we'll see. But that'll do it for the podcast. Tomorrow, big day tomorrow, I'll be doing my fantasy rankings. So I'll get to work on those very soon. I'll probably do, I don't know how I want to do it. Comment down below what you want. I don't know how I want to do it. I don't know if I want to do top 5 like running backs, top 5 receivers, top 5 defenses. Not going to get into kickers. Top 5 quarterbacks. Or if you want me just to do top 15 all players. I think personally for me going into this year's draft, I think I'd be best going top 5 receivers, running backs, instead of just going top 10 everything. Because also during the draft, when I'm looking down at the paper and I'm trying to figure out who to draft, it's kind of hard. Or I could do top 10. I don't want to spend, top 10 might be a lot because that could lead into like 45 minutes of the podcast. So I might do top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5. And then for the actual draft, I might extend the list a little bit. But my draft's tomorrow. So I was going to do my fantasy rankings and get you ready for the year in fantasy. Whenever you do your draft, whether that's the day before the NFL season, whether that's on Thursday of the Bucs-Cowboys game, whenever it is, I'll get you ready with my thoughts, my predictions, give you a little bit of draft strategy, and everything you need to know. This year I'm in a 12-person league, so it's a little different, definitely a different draft strategy, but we'll see how everything goes. By the way, this just happened. Steve Cohen just rips the unproductive Mets. So he goes out and really destroys the Mets. Let's see here. This is, let's see here. So it's hard to understand how professional hitters can be this unproductive. The best teams have a more disciplined approach. They're struggling in OPS numbers. Don't lie. So, I mean, he's definitely not happy. It looks like Steve Cohen not very happy. He's the only owner, I think, and in all of, actually, Christopher Johnson, or Woody Johnson of the Jets, who I don't like. I want the Johnsons to sell the team, but he's on Twitter. But not like Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen's like the only owner in baseball that's actually on Twitter, and is active on Twitter. The only thing Woody Johnson does is post, some, clips of different highlights, things. He doesn't like post things like, predictions for this guy, or this, that, like, Steve Cohen is all over the place with Twitter. I mean, he's destroying the team, which is, I guess, a good thing because, the team is bad right now. So someone's got to step up to the plate and destroy him. I mean, you got to wonder how the players are going to take it because the players have actually delivered a little bit more of an optimistic approach. Pete Alonso about a week ago saying that everything's going to be okay, we're fine. And then, even, I don't know who it was. Was it J.D. Davis, I think, said something about, it's only, we're only below 500 or whatever, not making it seem like a big deal. So the players are taking more of the optimistic approach. So I guess for a fan standpoint, I guess you gotta like that. If you gotta like that he's saying something because the players are all being optimistic. Now, let's be honest here. Coming from a player's standpoint, they're not gonna sit there and bash the team and say how bad the team is. Because then that, it just doesn't make sense. But it's different if a GM does or something like that. But the players who are trying to win, if they go out and say, oh, we stink and we're not good and we're terrible and I don't believe in this team, well, that's not good. That can mess up the whole locker room. So, deep down inside, the players might think, oh, they have no shot, but they're not going to make it public. Unlike Steve Cohen. But he's active on Twitter. He is. When the Mets first got him, I did not expect him to be active on Twitter. But I mean, if you're a Met fan and you don't like what he's doing right now, well, I mean, you could also make the argument Steve Cohen could have did more at the deadline, like getting Chris Bryant instead of Javier Baez. Nothing against Baez. I like Baez, but he's a strikeout guy. He strikes out a lot. He swings at pretty much everything. He's not healthy right now. Bryant's hitting home runs and having a good series against the Mets. So that's got to make that extra. That's got to make that hurt extra. But this is the thing about the Mets too, is I know I've mentioned this about billions of times, but it's the truth, and everyone's mentioned it. It doesn't get easier for the Mets. I mean, after this, you got to go to play the Dodgers, then the Giants again. And then you have a little bit of a stretch of easy games. And then you have some hard games. Red Sox, Brewers, Yankees, who, are a completely different team than who the Mets played earlier in the season. And the Cardinals, who, the way the Mets are playing, that's not going to be an easy series. Not the Cardinals are anything special, but neither are the Mets, So we'll see how the rest of the season unfolds. But right now, it's not looking good. And the owner's not happy now either. So Steve Cohen, who everyone thought once he bought the team, it's the same old Mets, people. It really is. But that'll do it for the podcast. So, Mets drama, Mets craziness continues. We'll see if it continues today. I would love for them to get swept and go 0-6 across this stretch. We'll see. But Yankees go for the sweep today. So, Mets try to avoid the sweep, and the Yankees go for the sweep. So, we'll see how those two games play out. But with all that being said, as you all know, another good podcast in the books. As you all know, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.